Right, and we are back with the Blamegirl podcast with
Mr. Terry Wayne.
And we got Mark Christopher back in the house, folks. I just realized he is a second timer. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, we're going to get to know you all again tonight. I know you've done a lot, so maybe we'll just talk about it since the last time you've been here. I did not realize that.
Yes, many things have changed.
So how was your weekend, though?
Oh, it was great. I went to the Florida Renaissance Fair, which is my very first Renaissance Fair. It's fantastic.
Yes. How was that? I've heard a lot. I've talked to a lot of comics that went.
I'm just amazed at how, it's like a traveling circus. So I think a lot of the same vendors set up from place to place. So, they roll into town and, they use their space really well. There are just, a lot of things on offer. Things run according to schedule. You would expect it to be kind of like slapdash. But no, it was, very well organized. And, it's an absolute hoot of a time. Yeah, I recommend.
Did you get dressed up?
I was looking around. I went to an amazing costume store in Pompano, but the price of like renting an actual proper outfit was a little bit more than I wanted to bear for like a single afternoon. So I wound up at
damn inflation.
What's that?
Damn inflation.
Yeah.
When will the inflation in the costume market stop?
Right. It's like, has anyone checked the price of pantaloons lately? It's outrageous.
Yes.
So I just wound up at a party supply store, and I got the only thing that was appropriate. I wasn't going to dress like a minion or a stormtrooper, so I was a beer wench. Got myself and it went over. I thought there would be a lot more kind of like gender fluidity at the Ren Fair, but everybody they were not true to their era, but they were certainly true to their chromosomes. So it was a lot of gender normative attire. And I'm never going to a Renaissance Fair dressed as a man again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you would be surprised how little progressive thinking there was back in the Middle Ages.
Back in the plague era. Yeah.
You gotta have a pair of pantaloons on tap. You gotta have pantaloons ready. I love that word.
I agree. That's why I don't rent anymore. I just bought. There's so many times you're gonna use those.
It's like, why did I have to turn those back in?
Yeah, just make the investment.
It's like getting a video from Blockbuster. Eventually, they're like, I've rented this 3 times. I should just take the hit to my credit card and keep it.
Yeah, it's going to pay for itself in the next 6 months to a year.
I'm not going to watch the Shawshank Redemption again.
Yeah,
I buy costumes like crazy. And guys, we were on tour with Mark, and I was going to actually buy a Dorothy costume because I think we performed so close to Halloween. And I just wear costumes all throughout October, basically, when I go on stage. I was like, oh, should I get this Dorothy costume? I'm like, I didn't get it, but I should have.
You should have. It would have driven the conservatives crazy.
Well,
so Terry, how was your weekend?
Mine was pretty interesting. I did mushrooms all weekend, so that was fun. Never done them before. Did it with one group of people. Had a great time. Did it with other group of people. Not so great, but very interesting. Very interesting.
A lot of mushrooms seem to have hit the Florida comedy scene the last week or so, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I read a lot of studies on how it can help certain mental health issues and certain problems, PTSD and this and that, and how they're using ketamine and psilocybin now in a lot of these clinical trials, especially with soldiers returning home, things like that, and PTSD survivors. So I was just very.
For you?
Huh?
What's the verdict for you? Do you feel like it's a good? Do you like it? I mean, I did one. Yeah, I did 2 different experiences. One was more of a microdose, which I felt had a lot better positive
results, especially the following days. And then one macro dose, which was not as awesome. But it might have just been the environment and the things that were going on. So I don't really know how to, the data kind of got ruined on that one. But no, I can definitely see how the microdosing on a semi-regular basis could definitely help improve mood and, stable thinking, stuff like that, yeah. It's definitely, I definitely feel different. I definitely feel a lot less cloudy after a weekend of that. So
that's great, though. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's a positive result. So.
I think so. We'll see where it goes. So.
All right. So my weekend.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
We can just move on. All I did was work, and I had a show. I was in a private birthday party. That was my first private party. That was a lot of fun.
Did you? You had a good time?
Is this the one where everyone was standing on the edge of the swimming pool trying not to fall in?
Yeah. I didn't stand on the edge of the swimming pool, but I know I joked about bringing a swimsuit, and they were like, "Where's your swimsuit?" And I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a big reveal, in my set. I'm gonna jump in." But imagine following that. Like I
would have just assumed you can't swim. That's
okay.
Yeah, you don't want to follow the person who's got the swimsuit underneath their street clothes. They've got a big closer plant.
Didn't even do one joke. Yeah.
And jumps in. And then what do you do with the microphone at that point? Like,
not take it with you. That's the thing. That's the big secret. You don't want to
take it with you. Okay. Anyway. Well, let's get to it, folks. We
can't book Chris Rock for that one.
How did Gio do at the show? She died. It was crazy.
Died? What? Oh.
If you jump in the pool with a mic, yeah, there's a good chance.
It was cordless. I don't think I would have died.
What? Okay.
Do you think batteries?
I don't know.
I don't think it would have.
Well, the mic's definitely not surviving.
No.
The mic's not surviving, but do you think I would die with the mic?
Yeah, I don't.
Probably not. If it was corded, maybe.
Mic.
Yeah,
if it was corded.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awful. Anyway, okay, let's get to blaming. Jumping in the pool with the corded mic sounds like something our Governor Desantis would do. Our Governor Ron DeSantis this week scolded high school students for wearing masks at his press conference. Guys, who's to blame? Why was he bullying them?
I don't know who's to blame, but it was fucking hilarious. I mean, if you want to make somebody appear as an old curmudgeon who's just yelling at kids to get off his lawn, that's exactly how you do it. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what he sounded like. He sounded like these kids have been knocking his mailbox over for the last few weekends, and he has just had it. He's fed up.
I guess if his lawn is his unprotected immune system.
Well, why? The better question is, why do conservatives always want to tell other people what to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't have an abortion because I don't believe in it. You got to wear a mask. You wear a mask because I don't believe in it. Like they're always forcing their ideologies on people.
Mark, what say you?
I think the mask that Governor DeSantis should have been concerned about is the one that slipped from his face, because the whole line has been, we're not anti-mask, we're anti-coercion. But then when people are simply wearing masks in his presence because it's their choice to do so, and he flips out, the mask slips a little, and we find out what the real issue is. I have some sympathies with. I think there is a bit of performative mask wearing, but certainly you're out in public. Some people you've never met before are hosting you for an event, and they happen to have masks on. They're perfectly happy to have you there without your mask on. I think that's a situation where, everyone is exercising their choice to wear or to not wear a mask, which is what he seems to have been claiming.
It's just rude.
It was what the state should look like all along. Yeah. So to flip out, it's a mask.
But Florida,
flipping moment.
Yeah.
you do feel pressured not to wear your mask. You feel like I'm gonna look dumb if I go in and wear my mask because everyone's not wearing masks and they're gonna think I'm a libtard. That's what I think.
Well,
anyway.
it very much plays out as you would expect it to. You walk into a bar, you're going to be the only person to wear a mask. You walk in. I walked into a museum. I took my mother to see the Machu Picchu thing in Boca Raton. Pretty much, 80% of people were masked. I go out to a comedy gig tonight. It's going to be, the numbers are going to flip. It's just, but that's what you expect. There are different demographics at those kinds of events.
Well, I like your point about, because the hypocrisy is crazy. It's like, don't listen to these people telling you to wear a mask. Stop being a sheeple. Think for yourself and take off that fucking mask. You know what I mean?
And
like,
and
don't you just let
and I don't
people
want
do
to
what
be in
they
a
want to
camera
do?
shot with someone in a mask.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
like,
it doesn't also show me, right, putting my boot across their throat. It's like, all right.
You know what? If I was those kids, you know what I would have said? Take off those masks. Hey, don't tread on me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would have said.
He called it COVID fucking theater. I hate him for saying that. Like, he's just a bully.
Well, there is some of that.
I mean, was it COVID theater? Or do you think
there's been some virtue signaling throughout the whole.
Like, Desantis coming, put on your mask just to fuck with them, right? I would have been doing that.
There is some COVID theater. Did he know enough about the reasons for those individuals wearing the masks to make that statement and try to embarrass them in a public setting? No, he didn't.
I know.
No.
I mean,
they should have said, "Oh, you sure you want us to take them off? Because we're all positive right now. Are you sure that you want?"
Right. I just got a positive test.
We all.
I didn't want to miss your event, and I knew you wouldn't care, so I'm here with my mask on.
He's using them as props, and then it's like, you're using props. It's like ridiculous. And what's funny, the COVID theater, to elaborate on that, is like, he's already clipped up campaign videos with this shit in it. Who's really into the theater? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going straight to the television with his fucking bullying of teenagers to get donations.
Well, it reminds me of the law that I think was passed, making it permissible to run over protesters, which was obviously targeted to the Black Lives Matter protesters. And then when there started to be protesters on the other side of the political aisle, some astute reporter said, hey, does this law apply to them as well? Meaning, can we run over these guys who are
Trump
out
supporters is what they use.
Right. And it became very awkward very quickly. So this is sort of that situation playing out once again. It's another mask slipping kind of situation where what was claimed to be sort of a policy neutral take is revealed very much to be biased towards one side. But anyway, that doesn't come as any surprise. He looked like a bit of a dick.
I think it was more than a little bit.
Well, who's a really big dick these days is Vladimir Putin, guys. I mean,
now wait a minute. All
right. I didn't say he had a really big dick. I said he was a really big dick.
No, then you'd be talking about me.
Wow, the level of discourse dropped precipitously. Okay. And yes,
nobody's watching anymore. This is it. Anyway, it's over.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what has puzzled me this week is that President Zelinsky, he tweeted Elon Musk for help during this war. He asked for help with infrastructure, particularly broadband. And it worked, y'all. This is wild. Is this war now? Who's to blame?
Is it war? No, it's not war. As far as I can remember, no matter how many billions of dollars you have, you're not allowed to declare war for the country. That might change later. I don't know, but I mean,
is this what war is now in 2020? Like,
you act like that's something new. World War II is basically how Volkswagen got started.
No one was tweeting.
Companies always get involved in war because there's money to be made. I mean, that's the old adage: when there's blood in the street, buy property. That's the time to take advantage, is when everything else is going crazy. And I think Elon Musk, again, he's asking for infrastructure, but I guarantee you he's sucking up data from Ukraine, in the process. Data is valuable,
That's what they're going to go through your shit. What about you, Mark? What do you think is going on here? Why
I haven't thought about this too deeply, but it's interesting that even in a situation like this where the United States and NATO forces are afraid to act for I think legitimate fear of starting World War III and drawing the entire world into a hot war with Russia, that private entities can act in a way that effectively in a way that only a government would have been able to in the past. I mean, basically, my understanding is that Russia has knocked out a substantial part of Ukraine's ability to provide internet to its people, and Tesla or Elon Musk was able, by sending some equipment to Ukraine, to get that up and running again, at least to some degree. And it's easy to cheer that, but also kind of frightening to imagine how it would play out if you had a pariah state that happened to have a fan on the private side that was able to provide it with an end around on sanctions and make sanctions ineffective or things like this. So for the moment, I think it's wonderful that Elon Musk is able to provide is able to foil Russia's attempts to cut Ukraine and its people off from contact with the rest of the world. But I can also imagine a situation where it would be terrifying, and the rest of the world, even if united, couldn't stop some bad actor as long as he had enough or the right private sector allies. So I don't know.
It's weird because it's like they could, as much as they can help Ukraine, they could be helping Russia, right? So
right, and somewhere down the road, like what
billionaires just have too much control over resources these days, maybe, especially if you can intervene into a war and say, here you go. I mean, it's good that he's being able to help, that it's something that doesn't cause bloodshed and all this and that, but it's like, how can one man have so much power?
Well, and also the extent to which, this equipment is not regulated. Like McDonnell Douglas, as far as I know, cannot simply run an end around and saying the United States isn't going to sell planes or provide planes to Ukraine, but we build the planes and we'll provide them directly to Ukraine or sell them directly to Ukraine, just because of the way that the contracts they have with the United States and the regulation that's in place. And this is still, even though it's getting to be quite a mature technology, there isn't regulation in place to actually stop Elon Musk from doing, again, which seems to be a very good thing, but what's the reaction of Vladimir Putin going to be to an American company taking, basically weighing in very forcefully on one side in this conflict? It's interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, everybody's talking about, this could turn into World War III and this could turn into a hot nuclear war. The nuclear war, in my opinion, is off the table, and everybody knows it. Even Russian officials have said, that would be a grave misstep. And even if Putin wanted it, I don't think, because they have checks and balances just like we do. It's not like he just has a button and says, let's go. Yeah. So even if he did give the order,
they've had a launch command in effect before that was foiled because the guy whose job it was to actually launch the missiles said no, not
right, because you still have
back in 1978 or something.
Yeah, you still have a person there that says, okay, I guess I'm ending the world today. And not to mention Putin's, no matter how much of a despot he comes off across as these days, he's not a moron, he's not going to sacrifice his entire country. Not only that, but, devastate his own legacy and become the greatest monster in world history just for little old Ukraine. This is posturing at this point. He hates all the sanctions. He hates how the world's come together against him. He hates that their money is basically worthless on the world stage, and their banks' stocks have fallen to nothing in world markets. And there's nothing he can do about it now other than retreat, or other than withdraw. But he can't withdraw because that makes him look weak. And if you're, and if you're basically a dictator, you can't show weakness just out of self-preservation. So it is a tricky thing, but I think this will come down to diplomacy at the end of it. He'll probably end up with a chunk of Ukraine in exchange for withdrawal, and sanctions will be lifted, and that'll be that.
Do you think
that's my bet, at least?
I don't think that's all he wants. At this point.
I mean, you might be right, but then he's the only other neighboring countries that he can get is going to force.
I wasn't saying neighboring countries. I was just saying maybe he wants the entire Ukraine region.
Oh, I understand that he wants that. I'm sure that he wants a lot of things. What he's going to get would be very much different, I feel. Because if he steps 1 foot outside Ukraine to any other European country, NATO is going to be in effect. And NATO will be forced to act. And then we would have a large ground war, but still not a nuclear one.
Well, we're going to circle back around to the Russia issue in just a bit. I want to move on to the next one. Guys,
I'm far more ethically, or at least practically, clear on what to do in the latter situation. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay.
Yes,
I think I got some more solid advice from Brittany Griner than I do for the world in response to Putin. But all right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
All right, so this one's another local one. It's a Fort Lauderdale police chief that was recently fired. Let me back up. A gay biracial police chief who was recently fired after being accused of racial bias. Who's to blame here? Who do y'all think he was being biased for? Do you think he was hiring more minorities or white people?
You said you were more suited for this. I didn't know you were biracial, Mark.
No, not this one. I mean, this wasn't a punt. I wasn't. I was going over this one to get to the last one. Okay. You're right. Who do I think? I think the article makes it clear, at least the people who wanted him out or were protesting his hiring policies thought that he was being. He was favoring minority candidates.
Yeah, they thought it, and they got him out. I mean,
they got him out.
Over some white male officers, and they accused him of hiring more black folks and saying even, and I quote, "Who's blacker?" And he said he did things, and his statement was, these people deserve the opportunities, and he just picked the best candidates. But yet he got fired. Y'all think? What do y'all think happened here? Why did he get fired?
to quote Montgomery Burns, finally the white man is in charge for once. It's so stupid. Like, look, you can't say, I'm giving minorities more, and that's why there's a majority of hires there. That's ridiculous. Because again, it just by using the word minority, you're saying it's a smaller percentage. So I don't necessarily believe that was that was intentional, but I do see how dudes were mad because I did live through the 90s, through the affirmative action phase, and I got to hear all the complaints on that. Well, the best person for the job should get the job. It shouldn't have anything to do with skin color. That was the big argument back then. Shouldn't matter. If I do better on the application, if I do better with my resume, then I should get it. Well, now we have the reverse, and they're whining about that. So,
like, they're so sure it wasn't because they were the better candidate. It seems like they.
It kind of infers that, doesn't it? Like, how could they possibly be better than a white guy?
And the fact that he got fired, the fact that they got him out of there makes me feel like, fuck, like, really? Do you have proof that he said this, or are they just mad because it's actually being integrated, the police system, and it needs to be. Like, it needs to be. That's the whole reason Black Lives Matter exists.
Well, I'm pretty sure they've been integrated for some time.
The Fort Lauderdale department.
Yeah. I mean, shit, when I was 18 and I was applying at those departments, because that did happen. Yeah, there was plenty of black officers back then. Hispanic ones too. So.
His name was Larry Sherrado, and yeah, he's out of there.
Am I correct? Did I read the article correctly that he's only been there for like 6 months or so?
Yep, 6 months. Okay. He did not work out with us. He seems like
that's probably not like a very lengthy hiring record.
Yeah, to be like, oh, you're hiring only.
Even if he came in and he had 60 or 80% quote unquote minority hires, it's over a short period of time. That wouldn't seem to be enough to if it would ever justify, but that it doesn't seem to be enough to justify any kind of action or even scrutiny. So I suspect it's something, unless it's just something that's not in the article.
Yeah.
That it's more in the way he was discussing his goals in hiring.
Like, that's how he did the hiring.
Or the Old Boy Network has more power than anyone knows to hammer down any nail that sticks out. And
there's definitely not.
And I have no idea.
There's definitely not enough data to prove anything after 6 months, but I kind of agree with Mark, because I think it was definitely something else. Personally, I just know how political those situations can be and those positions can be, and to me, it just kind of smacks of like, you didn't play ball politically with somebody, and then they just torpedoed your career because you wouldn't go along with whatever agenda they want.
You know what? This dude seems like he might have been a diversity hire. Checking 2 boxes, right? So
next thing you know, they'll be dancing.
Well, in the spirit of the program, which is to give a strong opinion on matters you know very little about, I'm hopping mad, and I think there should be an inquiry into the inquiry that resulted in his dismissal. But anyway, in any case, it kind of all the pieces don't quite add up, and I'm well, as they often don't, from one column article about
who wants to be a cop anyway. Go be a fireman. They work less, they get paid more, and everybody likes them. Why would you?
Have you heard Brian Simpson's great joke about firemen versus cops?
No.
And he's got a new Comedy Central special, he's on Netflix. The comedians, Mark Norman's there and Dusty Slade, but Brian Simpson's got a great 20 minutes. But he has a joke about, people make excuses for police when they shoot people of color, because they say, well, he was afraid for his life. And you never hear about, a fireman who's afraid for his life chopping somebody's head off with an axe and say, did you see him? Did you see that guy? You saw him flicker, right? You saw him flicker.
Yeah, Did you see that guy with the lighter?
Highly recommended. Brian
him out.
Simpson gets a plug.
However, they have, I will say, refused service to Black folks before, and it was on the Northeast. I've seen an article. Anyway, not to bring it down, but
I'm just plugging a comic. So
what did you say?
By butchering his material I'm just plugging a comic by butchering his best joke on a podcast. That's all. If you want to see that joke delivered so it's actually funny, go watch Brian Simpson on Netflix.
Brian Simpson on Netflix.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, we've got a WNBA player stuck in Russia. Brittany Griner, she went over to Russia to play during the winter. I guess a lot of the NBA and WNBA players do this. And she took her Vapins or pin medicine, and she got arrested. Who's to blame here?
What was in the vape again?
Hash oil.
Hash oil.
Don't take your weed through an airport.
No, it's a bad idea.
Next subject. It never works.
Yeah. You blame Brittany.
There's always weed at the next place. Don't take it through an airport.
Let me just say this. My white friends always take weed through the airport.
Who? In Russia?
I can't name their names on the podcast, but
okay, in Russia?
I have a friend who transported it to Italy.
Well, they got lucky because those internationals can be a B.
I know a white guy who got busted taking it through an airport in Japan. Yeah, I mean,
we don't even have to go that far. Michael Cintron talks about it on stage. One of his oldest jokes is how he tried to take weed through an airport, got busted, and his mom had to come get it.
Who's that?
Cintron.
Did that really happen to him though?
I believe so. I believe he told me that was a real story. Yeah.
Well, it's like if they made apples illegal. It's like you just don't. You get them at the next place.
Yeah.
She's probably right outside the airport. There's like go through the garbage can at the place at the
in Vegas,
departures lounge of the airport that you fly into, and people there, if they're smart, will have thrown away their weed.
Yep.
It's just don't take it through the airport.
He's absolutely right. I've seen that in Vegas airports, and I saw that in Denver airports. It's like dispose of your weed here before you walk into the airport. That's it. Not a big deal.
You can get her medicine. Can she get her medicine in Russia?
Okay, it ain't medicine there. It's a drug there.
Medicine?
No, it ain't.
Leave her medicine here in the U.S. when she's traveling?
I mean,
or don't go there.
I'm not going to argue about like how whether it's legitimate to categorize it as medicine, but like she's well aware that it's not Wellbutrin or it's not made by Merck. Right? Well, she's 31. She knows she's seen it go from being an illicit drug to being kind of in the gray area to being accepted in certain states as medicine. And
where did she grow up? If she grew up in LA, she might not have experienced that,
All right. Well, it doesn't matter. It's on you. Ignorance of the law is ignorance of the law is no excuse, as any judge will tell you. And going into Russia, she knew it was illegal there. She should know the Russians don't fuck around with that stuff. And she's lucky that it wasn't in the Philippines, or else she would have been killed by a motorcycle death squad. So,
yeah, already.
Yeah. But just to be clear, where I stand on this cosmically, it should be legal. Leave her alone. Don't prosecute the crime. But more importantly, for anyone listening, there's weed everywhere. Don't take it on the plane. All right, I'm not going to say it again.
You don't want to take it to another country and then get stuck in that country in jail, and then they declare war on someone else and going to war.
Or you really want to try their patience. Tell them, but I'm flying from Colorado and we can use it there. Yeah, they're not going to want to. They're not going to want to listen to that.
Another double layer for poor Brittany is she's a lesbian.
Now,
you know how Vladimir treats lesbians.
Well, you mean how he treats gay people in general?
Yes.
Yeah, not big fans. But the only exception I believe, the
undercurrent of every one of these things, even the Fort Lauderdale thing, could be fuck Putin. That's fine. We can.
Now, let me.
You want to blame Putin for Putin?
Sure. I mean, it's it'll. Wheels within wheels, 6 degrees of separation. That could be the overriding theme. But
now I believe the only exception of the weed on the airplane thing, and I just heard this. I don't know if it's true or not. Is if you're medically licensed, you have prescription, and you're going from one state where it's legal to another state where it's legal. So if you fly from Nevada to Colorado, you're fine. That's what I heard. Not sure about that.
If I heard that from you, or if someone
if only we had an attorney we could talk to.
Just make sure you don't get rerouted to a less weed friendly state.
We're stopping in Oklahoma. Get the fuck out.
Right.
All right, guys. I think that's about it for blaming so
all right.
far.
I feel like I've apportioned more blame than I typically do in a day.
Our second timer, Mark Christopher, he has opened up for Bill Burr, Hedberg, and Nealon. Those are great names. Oh my God. He is a comedian of the world. I know you've traveled out of the country and done comedy this year or within the last year.
I think that might be a new one since the last time I was here.
Definitely. So remind us again, how long have you been doing it? I know it's a while.
I guess I'm saying 8.5 years now. I did it for 6 years in San Francisco from 2000 to 2006. And then I've been back about 2.5 years in Florida since like right before COVID.
How's it being back? Like 2 years in after taking that long of a break?
Yeah.
What is it like being back?
I like it. I feel like I'm kind of a different person. I feel like I'm a better writer and more confident on stage. So I don't have, everybody's got their frustrations and their good nights and bad nights. And I'm very, very capable of going out and just dying on my ass in front of a crowd. But I don't have like the kind of living and dying with each set or getting down if I have a couple bad sets in a row or anything like that. And I'm confident in what I'm doing and I like what I'm doing. So I think I'm a much better and happier comic the last couple years that I've been back and performing in Florida than I was before.
Okay. What's the difference? Is it just because you feel like
I think I was away for 13 years. I've done I've done a couple of stints with something that is a much more prestigious career, but one I liked much, much less. So realized, I sort of always knew you don't become a comedian without like understanding how lucky you would be to be able to make a living doing it. But like until you've done sometimes it takes doing something that you really hate and being like almost having the feeling that you're trapped in it to really appreciate the liberation of being able to just go out and perform every night and even have like a snowball's chance of maybe ever being able to do it for a living or to do it for stretches of time that's like you can say that that's your full-time job. So that's a big part of it. And then just being older and just having more to draw from and just I kind of feel sometimes I would write stuff and then not be able to make, or I would get an idea and not be able to write it the way I want to. And maybe I'm just deluded, but that doesn't happen as much. I feel like I go from idea to execution faster, and it's just it's kind of it's very satisfying. I get the drug rush that you seek as a comic now on a more regular basis than I did before.
Do you think that would have happened had you stuck with it after 2 years, or do you think you needed that break to appreciate it?
It's tempting to like wonder that and to look at people that I knew back then who were like my contemporaries who are now very successful and say, oh, I could have been almost that, or I could have been that, or I could have been more than that. But I think that for the preservation of my sanity and also just, to be realistic, it's like, I very much like the comic I am now, and I like what I'm writing. And so to think that I could just go back and change anything about my past or my path and arrive at this spot is wishful thinking. If you're happy with where you are, you shouldn't go back and regret that, like, oh, I could have gotten here faster, or I could have been at some higher point in the mountain. It's like, there are so many more ways to be dead than alive in anything you do, that if you're happy with where you are, don't like resent the path that got you there or regret it. Is sort of my take. Okay. And on the other hand, I'm I was 35, I think, when I left, or 35. And, I wasn't a star by any stretch, didn't have representation, but I had certainly had some, things in the irons in the fire,
Get some good credits,
Now I'm 51, and how many just vanilla 51-year-olds, dudes make it big in comedy, but I don't know.
Well,
maybe that, like I said, I'm happy with where I am and what I'm doing. So, try to convince me I shouldn't be.
Well, and that brings me to a question I had for you, because I've noticed you have started creating, like I've seen more of the shows that you're creating, like working with the improv and putting shows together and creating your own shows. But then I've also talked to you about tours you have created outside the one that we did locally. You said with 2 other comics. Yeah. What's your preference there? What do you prefer, the shows you get to create and run and kind of operate under your own flag, or do you kind of prefer the shows where you just have to kind of show up and deal with whatever that booker or showrunner is looking for?
Just a quick answer and direct answer, the latter. So I'm all about my act, and I'm in this not to necessarily get into TV or movies. Like I want to do, and this is what I told you guys last time, I love comedy. I want to do comedy. I'm aiming not even necessarily for those like theater gigs, but like, that kind of in between a room in some places, kind of like a theater in other places, like the kind of place where like a comedian would shoot their special is right. Where I want to be touring. So the ratio, from what I found in booking shows, one, I think I'm a good comic. I don't necessarily think I'm a good producer. I'm like organized and things like that. So I think I'm good with the production value side of stuff, but like the getting butts in seats, not my strong suit. And the ratio of time that I have to spend, like, let's just put it this way. I just did a show at the Improv. Very, very happy with the way the show went off. But I, like the month leading up to that, I spent so much time promoting it. I have just loved the amount of writing I've been able to do in the last week, because I feel like that was all bottled up waiting to come out, and I couldn't really give the time that I wanted to and normally do to my act.
Well, because we talked about this last time.
Yeah.
That you're kind of the same. You have kind of the same mentality as I do. You're a love of the game kind of guy. Like you'll go and do the bar shows and put just as much effort into your act as you would if you were doing an A room. Like it's really about. It's not necessarily about where the path leads. It's just about walking it. That's, you know what I mean? That's the vibe I got from you last time.
I'm very much about, where it leads in terms of, I really want it to lead to, an act that I love and more material that I love. And just, yeah. So I'm going to go to a mic and a showcase after this podcast. I've got a couple hours of driving ahead of me today. I've got a couple of quick turnarounds. I've written 4 new minutes in the last 36 hours that and that feeling when you think something's good and you're chomping at the bit to try it kind of thing. So I love that. That gets me out the door, pretty much every night of the week, if I'm not focused on, putting together a promo video or something that I'm not like all that good at. So that's really, would I rather just be the feature or the headliner on somebody else's show instead of having to put in like 100 hours of promo for my own show that lasts 90 minutes? Yeah, I'd much rather just do the stage time and,
so you're lazy.
Bring value to somebody else's show.
Got it. Yeah. Just lazy. Just want to show up and go.
He's got a day job.
Exactly. Lazy. Watch my act. Lazy.
Everyone
knows.
Everyone knows.
So, but it's funny, like, where you want to be out there, because whenever my jokes, like, I just write them down as they come, and then I'm like, I'll go out and I'll work on them and keep working on them, and I just want to stay out there working on them. If I think it's something to add to an old one, I'm gonna go out and just test it out. So that's kind of also what keeps me out. I freaking understand that so much. But I wanted to ask you about you. So you are a clean comedian? Question mark.
Yeah, I think I happen to be clean. Right? What's that?
You just did a dry bar special, right?
No, I've never done a dry bar special.
I thought I saw that you did a dry bar special.
No, so my show at the Improv was with Robert Mack, who's an old friend of mine from San Francisco, who's got 2 dry bar specials. Casey Peruski, who's from up in Fort Pierce, who's got a dry bar special. I myself do not have a dry bar credit.
Okay, I thought maybe but you are amongst the dry bar folks, which meaning you kind of keep it vanilla, if you will.
Yeah, I like to not think of it as vanilla. I like to think, I can talk about. Well, I can do any amount of time without saying. I think I got 1 or 2 jokes that have the word "fuck" in them.
Okay.
And in those jokes, the word "fuck" means fuck. It doesn't. I'm not saying it like as an amplifier. This fucking guy or that. It's like I'm talking about the word "fuck." So in a sense, I don't have any F-bombs in my act. I have 1 cock.
Hopefully
in my act, one. And and in the sense that Terry was about to suggest, and that I don't have a lot of filthy material, but I talk about Satanism and death and pedophilia and all other sorts of antisocial behavior, as one should.
I was like, he's clean, but he's kind of dark sometimes.
That's it. Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's part of the fun to like have people like just looking at your act through like bared fingers. Like they can't believe how horrible the things you're saying are, and then like remind them 30 minutes into it. I watched one
yesterday on Netflix, man. I was like, I want to turn it off because this is so bad, but it was, I don't know. It was produced by Robert Townsend and Wanda Sykes, I think, and her name is Miss
P. Miss Pat.
Miss Pat. Oh my God.
I was watching that yesterday too. That's funny. I watched about 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, but she's dark. She talks about incest and some. Okay, so it gets like that, but she does cuss a lot in her. So I mean, if you can be dark and clean, that's pretty good.
A lot of my favorite comics curse.
What else did I wanted to ask you about? So this isn't the only show, the one that you produced at the Improv. You were very proud of it, and I'm sorry I missed it. I think I had something going tonight, but I wanted to catch it, and I was like really excited for you.
Thank you.
You did another show before that, right? Did you produce another show?
I produced and just took a little hiatus from a show at the Platinum Lounge, which is basically people in the area, that Monroe's of Palm Beach, which is a gentleman's club, has a little room next to it, which is like a speakeasy called the Red Light, which has been doing shows with the late great Bobby Mack and now hosted by Abby Ballin on Sundays. In Broward, out in Sunrise, there's a room called called Goldfingers, which is the gentleman's club, and next to it they have a room called the Platinum Lounge, and I was running a show there. We did 2 shows, one with Esther Koo headlining and the other with Carlos Hernandez. And then I took a little break from that to focus on the improv show, but I hope that'll be coming back sometime, maybe sometime this month or next.
That's cool, because I remember that venue, not for comedy. I went to a fetish party, or I tried to go to a fetish party.
And they do like feet parties and stuff like that there as well. Yeah.
Old fingers. Okay.
What was the fetish party you attended?
She didn't. She got booted.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me in because we weren't. I was
sufficiently.
Two of us were not dressed appropriately because just, he's like, "That's a nice little dress you got on, ma'am, but you have to have leather, latex, PVC." I'm like, "Oh shit." So, but I've made it. Wow. I've made sure I got
no voyeurs allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you go to the nude beach, you gotta put something out there. Yeah.
Anyway, so you have traveled this year and you went out of the country and you did comedy. Tell us about that. I mean, you traveled a lot this year, but did you do comedy places? I only did one set outside of the United States, and
That was in Budapest. I was in Hungary just to meet up with a friend who was having a big birthday party, and who's from Hungary. And I got in touch with a friend of mine who was living in London. I was just saying, hey, there's a possibility I might be popping through. And he said, well, where are you now? Long story short, he knew of a guy who was running a show at an Irish bar in Budapest. So I got in touch with that showrunner. And next thing I know, there's like, yeah, come down and do the show. You can headline. And I said, okay, great, which meant 10 minutes, but that's
okay,
great, happy to take it.
But when you get an American comic, especially anywhere in Europe, they're like really excited to see you. So
yeah, and aside from the host, who was more of an improv performer, I was the only Anglophone. Not that non-English speakers can't be great English language comedian. Look at there's that Finnish fellow who just kills it everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, so it was nice, and they the audience was great. It was a lot of fun. The place was called the Barossa Tavern. So if you're listening in Budapest, go give them some business. It's a fun show, and if you go to my Instagram, Mark C. Haha, you can see the whole set.
I said we have a large Hungarian
fan base. Good.
So Mark, do you have anything? You said Mark Cha-Cha. That's how we can find you on social media. I know. I know,
but Mark. If you look up Cha-Cha, it's there, at least for the time being. I should grab Cha-Cha while I still can. Do I have anything coming up? Is that the question?
Yes, that's
the question.
Okay.
Tonight I'm going to Thank You Miami.
I'm going to Thank You Miami. I'm going to Spanx the Hog in about 10 minutes. And on the 19th, I'm doing the Paramount Theater down in Miami.
What? And a Paramount Theater?
I don't really know what it is. I'm doing it with Sita, who's a friend of ours and another very funny comic. And then the big thing I want to plug is end of March through beginning of April, I'm going to be doing shows in Arizona. So if there's anyone in the Phoenix area, please come check me out. I'll be on tour with my friend Robert Mack, who is shooting his special on April 4th. So if you're in any fans in Arizona, come see me.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to plug.
Are you ready to play the blame game?
That's me. Yeah, I guess I have to be.
You use a stage name, Mark.
Yes.
Christopher. Yes. Who's to blame? Why do you do that?
Our puritanical society.
Right. So here's the quick story. I'm an attorney, so I decided, and I'm still practicing, so I decided I should not necessarily be so easily findable in terms of my stand-up comedy clips and so forth. And so I was experimenting with various stage names when I first got here. I went with Jake Kincaid for a while. I was Oscar Levant. I think the first time I got on stage, he was a famous pianist and kind of like wit from the 1950s and 60s.
Fucking random.
Christopher's my middle name. And so I was just kind of like being lazy about coming up with an actual name. But I went out and used Mark Christopher enough times that some other comics like, oh, that's Mark Christopher. And I just slouched into it basically. And so it got weird if I was going to try to be anything else. But like Zen Mystery Jake Cafe, Kincaid, people still think of me as Jake Kincaid.
What the fuck? Where did you get this name? Like, why?
It sounds like a porn name. To be
a lot of comedy K's.
What?
There are a lot of comedy K's in it. Jake Kincaid from Hackensack.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah. So that's why. It's just to maintain a little separation between my law career and my comedy career.
You chose your name like Wayne chose his name.
Yeah. Laziness.
No, I did it on purpose.
Oh, okay.
For somewhat similar reasons. I'm a junior my actual name. I'm a junior, and my father is a 50-year pastor. So I didn't want to be treading on his name on the internet. So
especially with your material, Lord.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
He's heard it.
We know we can catch Mark coming up tonight, and then on the 16th. What did you say?
On the 19th at the Paramount, and then late March, early April in Arizona.
And then he's going to be all up in Arizona late March, early April.
That's right.
Okay. So are you guys ready for Terry Wayne's words for white people?
Yeah.
Nobody ever is.
It's time for that. All right. Terry, what you got this week?
Go ahead.
I just got a message that I need to get over to Spanx, so I'm gonna peace out on Terry's words for white people.
I told you are white people. You should. No,
I know I'm white people.
Thank you for joining.
Exercise my privilege to
not
be preached to by another white person.
That's fine. You don't need
it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure. 6 mountains of success to both of you.
Thanks.
and all your listeners.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess it's just us now. So let's get back into this. This week for the honkies, we have nature. We're going to talk about nature this week. Because I was talking to some people this weekend about some of my experiences with hunting and fishing and camping, especially in Alaska, out in the wilderness, places where, people haven't walked for quite some time. And just to be, and it got me thinking about just how being out that far, hundreds of miles away from the next person with no phone, no communication, how much it meant to me as a younger man, and how much, and how good it was for me, how much growth that I got from it. And then I started thinking about it today, and I said, that's one thing you can't fix, you can't replace, you can't make up for, and you can't get back. Once we destroy, either our ecological system, or once we destroy the nature around us, it doesn't come back. We don't get it back. There's no second chances. So make sure that when you make these vague statements about politics, and make sure when you make these vague statements about your ideology and how important it is for us to stick with fossil fuels instead of moving to clean energy, how important it is to have industry that is unregulated, that can destroy, the place you live. There's going to be no getting around it. If we destroy what we live off of, the land we live off of, you don't get to have it back. It's not a mistake you want to make, because it's a mistake you can't make up for. It's a mistake you can't repair. It's not like you can just come back and say, oh, sorry about that. Sorry, we built this pipeline across the US and it bursts and we spilled, 100 million gallons of oil through the American heartland. That's not really going to matter when the crops won't grow. It's not really going to matter when we eradicate another species. And it's really quite shocking to me, and why I thought it was appropriate for this in particular is because a lot of the times when I'm speaking to the honkies, I'm speaking directly towards the more conservative ones that I know watch this, and I know a lot of them are very much are in support of conservation, but they do it through their hunting and their fishing and camping and exploration. Mainly Ducks Unlimited, which is a huge conservation group for the US, but it is also founded and supported by hunters and fishermen. So just remember, if you want your kid or your grandkid to be able to take their kids out and do all those things that you enjoyed, well, sometimes you're just going to have to say no to some big industry. Sometimes you're going to have to say no to some big conglomerate and say, enough's enough. You can't have it all. We've got to save some of these lands because you don't get to have them back once they're gone.
Great message. Great.
Remember
great
that,
message.
honkies, when you go to the polls.
Definitely. And I think it's just so timely because that they are turning to that keystone right now because the gas prices are going up because of the lack of Russian oil, and I mean it hurts, but we got to do something to help the Ukraine. So
you would think that Biden releasing 60 billion gallons of oil from our reserve would be enough. But apparently
that'll only last a day. That's what
apparently Chevron and ExxonMobil just need to make some more profits. I mean, Shell alone made $21 billion worth of profits last year. What are they supposed to do? They got to eat, right? Can't eat without 21 billion.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in this week. And think about if you were one of those people that are like, oh, we should still fucking bringing up the Keystone. Think about Terry Lane's words for white people. Fuck off. We don't.
I got some and check. Look, come on down to Miami this weekend. On Saturday, I will be at the Have Nots Comedy Show with my buddy Mitch Fattel. There's not a whole lot of tickets, so if you're going to come down, get your tickets quick.
And I will be on Friday at Film Theater. It is a show celebrating International Women's Month, so come on down and support women. Until next week.
Don't support women. Support Mitch Fattel.
Until next week.